My name is Arthur. I'm 86 years old. People expect that at this age, a confession comes out clean. Like you line things up, explain yourself properly, maybe even sound wise about it. That's not how it feels from inside. From inside, regret doesn't arrive with a lesson. It just stays. And you get used to carrying it, the way you get used to a bad knee or shortness of breath. I spent most of my life thinking I was a good man, not a great one, just decent. I showed up. I didn't disappear. I paid the bills, ate dinner at home, went to work every morning. I never raised my hand to my wife. And for a long time, I told myself that meant something. Maybe it did. Maybe it still does. I don't know. I married Ruth when I was 28. She was direct, uncomfortable sometimes, the kind of woman who didn't let things float. About a month after we got married, she said something that stuck with me. She said, "Arthur, if something matters to you, say it. I don't want us guessing about each other for the rest of our lives." I promised her I would. I meant it when I said it. I really did. I just didn't understand how expensive that promise would become. The first few years were fine, good even, routine, predictable. People used to describe us as solid. I like that word, solid. It sounded safe. 5 years in, my company moved offices. New building, new faces. That's where I met Claire. She worked a couple floors below me. We started talking during lunch breaks. At first it was nothing. Complaints about work, small talk. But she listened differently. Not better than Ruth, just without history attached. I told myself it was harmless. Just talking, just words. I told myself that as long as I came home every night, kissed my wife, did what I was supposed to do, nothing real was being taken from anyone. That's the lie people don't talk about. You don't have to leave to be gone. The first time I crossed the line, I don't like describing it, even now. I wish I could say it felt wrong immediately, that I panicked, that my conscience screamed. It didn't. It felt like relief, like letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. And that's the part that scares me the most, even now. The affair didn't last long, less than a year. Claire transferred. No drama, no scene. Life just folded back into place. And Ruth never knew. Here's something I don't like admitting. When it ended, I didn't feel guilt the way people talk about guilt. I felt grateful. Grateful that nothing exploded. Grateful that my life stayed intact. Grateful that I didn't have to choose between honesty and comfort. That gratitude did more damage than the affair ever did. After that, I became careful. Not secretive in an obvious way, just edited. When Ruth asked how I was feeling, I gave her the version that wouldn't lead anywhere difficult. When she pressed, I learned how to soften answers, shorten them, redirect. She noticed. Of course she did. She always noticed. About 3 years after Claire left, Ruth started asking different questions, not direct ones, more like testing the water. Do you ever feel like we're not as close as we used to be? Is there something you're not telling me? Are you happy? And every time I gave her just enough truth to make the lie stick. I'm fine. Work's been stressful. I think all marriages go through phases. She'd accept it, but something in her eyes would dim a little more each time. I remember One Saturday morning, we were having coffee in the kitchen. The sun was coming through the window. She was reading the paper. Normal, quiet. Out of nowhere, she put the paper down and said, "Arthur, if you ever did something you thought would hurt me, I'd rather know than wonder." My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. I should have understood what she was really saying, that she already knew, or at least she felt it. She was giving me an opening, a chance to stop pretending. Instead, I smiled. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand and said, "Ruth, there's nothing to worry about." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she picked her paper back up. We never had that conversation again. Years later, we were lying in bed, lights off. She asked me very quietly, "Arthur, have you ever wanted someone else?" I remember staring at the ceiling, slowing my breathing, making sure my voice didn't change. I said no, not quickly, not defensively. Calm, convincing. She was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Good, because I don't think I could survive that." I didn't sleep that night. Not because I felt brave, because I realized how fragile a whole life can be, how much it can rest on a single sentence. After that, something in her closed. Not dramatically. No accusations. She just stopped reaching. Conversations became polite, safe. We raised 2 children. We celebrated anniversaries. We went on vacations. From the outside, we looked successful. People admired us. But you know what the worst part was? The worst part was watching her stop trying to know me. She used to ask me things, real things. "What are you thinking about? What do you want? What scares you?" And year after year, I gave her nothing. So eventually, she stopped asking. I did that to her. I took a woman who believed in honesty, who asked for it on our wedding day, and I taught her that curiosity wasn't safe, that reaching for connection would only meet air. You can stay married for 40 years and still live parallel lives. Longevity isn't intimacy. It just means you didn't leave. My son David, he got divorced a few years ago. He called me one night, upset. He said his wife told him he never let her in, that she felt like she was living with a stranger. I gave him advice. I told him communication matters. I told him to be more open. The hypocrisy of that moment. It sits heavy on me now. Ruth got quieter as she aged. Not bitter, not angry, just inward. Once we were going through old photos. She stopped at one from our 30s. We were at a company picnic. She was laughing, leaning into me. I had my arm around her. She stared at it for a long time and said, "We were closer then." I agreed. I didn't explain why. Because how do you tell your wife that you killed the intimacy in your marriage by protecting a secret? How do you say, "Yes, we were closer then, before I betrayed you, and spent 40 years lying about it"? You don't. You just agree and let the moment pass. When she got sick, they called it sudden. It wasn't. I just didn't want to see it coming. The last few months I stayed by her bed every day. I held her hand. I told her I loved her. That part was true. It just wasn't complete. One evening she asked me to open the window. She wanted air. I opened it. Cold air came in. She sat there looking out at the street, breathing slowly. Then she said very softly, "Arthur, you never lied to me out loud." I didn't move. "But you hid something," she said. I always felt it. I could never figure out what it was. She turned to look at me. Her eyes were tired, not angry, just tired. Was I imagining it? She asked. Tell me honestly, did I make it up? That was my last chance. Not to clear my conscience, but to tell her she wasn't crazy, that what she felt was real, that her instincts had been right all along. I didn't take it. I told her she was tired. I told her the medication was making her confused. I let her believe the doubt she carried for decades was her own weakness, her own paranoia. She died 3 weeks later, still wondering if she'd imagined her entire marriage. After the funeral, I went through her things. In a drawer in her nightstand, I found a journal. I almost didn't open it, but I did. Most of it was mundane. Appointments, shopping lists, little observations about the garden. But there was one entry, dated about 15 years ago. It said, I think Arthur is keeping something from me. I don't know what. Maybe nothing. Maybe I'm being paranoid, but I feel it. I felt it for years. I wish I knew how to ask him in a way that would make him tell me the truth. I don't think I can. I sat on the floor and cried, not because I felt sorry for myself, but because I realized what I'd done. I didn't just keep a secret. I made her doubt her own reality. I made her feel crazy for sensing the truth. That's what silence does. It doesn't just hide things. It gaslights the people who love you. A few weeks after Ruth died, I was going through boxes in the garage. I found an old envelope. Inside was a photograph. Claire and me laughing at some work event. I'd forgotten it existed. I stood there holding it, and all I could think was, this small, stupid, meaningless thing. This is what I sacrificed my marriage for, not even the affair itself. That was brief, forgettable. The real sacrifice was the 40 years of distance that came after it. The walls I built, the intimacy I killed, the woman I slowly turned into a stranger. I burned the photograph that day, not because it absolved anything, but because I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. Now I sit here alone. My children call. They think I was a good husband because I stayed, because I provided, because nothing dramatic ever happened. They're wrong. I didn't lose my marriage. I hollowed it out and kept the shell. If you're listening to this and you're holding on to a secret because you think it's safer, because you think confession would destroy everything, understand this. Silence doesn't protect love. It suffocates it, slowly, quietly, until there's nothing left but routine and politeness and two people who used to know each other. I didn't get caught. I didn't get divorced. I lived what most people would call a successful marriage, and it was all a performance. Ruth deserved better. She deserved a husband who honored the promise he made to her, who trusted her with the truth, even when it was ugly. Instead, she got me. A man who chose comfort over courage, who chose his own peace over her dignity. I can't fix that now, but if my cowardice can stop someone else from making the same mistake, maybe that's something. If you're interested in exploring this further, I'd recommend 3 books: The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown, When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, and Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Read them. They'll challenge you in ways you need. I'll drop the links in the comments and description. This channel features people like me sharing life advice and memories If you found value in this, subscribe and turn on notifications. And listen, if this resonated with you at all, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Leave a comment telling me one truth you've been avoiding. Hit that like button. I've got more of these in me, and I'd rather share them with people who actually want to listen. If you've got a story to tell, something you've learned that might help someone else, there's a form down in the description. Fill it out. Maybe next time we'll be sharing your story. Some confessions come too late to heal anything, but not too late to warn someone else.